Right, and we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to the belated second edition of our podcast. We have decided to name it the Boxed In Podcast. Not entirely sure why we came up with that name. We liked the name. What was the idea behind it? We're
There's a lot
feeling
of
boxed.
boxes involved.
We're feeling boxed in as gamers by the industry, or I don't
Yeah, a bit of
know.
that.
Yeah,
We're looking at
it's
monitors. You're moving around squares on a monitor. It's all boxes.
a lot of boxes. Yeah, okay. So that's a fair point. So boxed in it is. This is the boxed in podcast. So yeah, as we say, so shall it be. All right. So for anybody watching, please remember to hit the subscribe and the like if you like the content. Don't forget to hit the bell notification. We are new at this podcast thing, so bear with us as we figure out all the moving parts. We are all working still, and it is a crazy time of the year. So while our best effort will be to do one a week, the days may not be the same at the start while we figure it out, but we will get there. Bear with us, be patient. Also, comment below if you want to have topics spoken about. Be great to see what people want to talk about, or want us to talk about at least. Right. So I'm Bainlight. We have Crush from Crush Gaming and the indomitable Chaos, the Chaos Angel. How has everyone been? How has the last, well, it's been 2 weeks since our last podcast, essentially. How has everyone's been, or how's everyone's life been? Chaos. What's been
Yeah,
happening
good
in your
man.
life, Conan?
Personal life stuff. So I've been working on my office/gaming room. We had quite a lot of rain over the last week, and it actually got flooded.
The
So
personal swimming pool, not an office anymore?
yeah, so I'm gonna have to do a bit of work around the area to divert some water and stuff before I actually move in there now. But
It'd
got the
be
door.
devastating if your computer started learning how to swim.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just my beer fridge isn't there at the moment, so that's fine.
Probably feed all the wiring when you do hook up the power. Probably just keep everything
Up
on the
high.
roof. You know what I mean?
That's
Like you
right.
plug your PowerPoint in so that if it
Yeah.
floods again, you can just be at your
Plug it
desk when you're
plug it into the
feeding the
roof.
water, still
Yeah.
gaming. I like
Could be in the water. It's like, yeah, this is
Yeah, yeah.
nice. Keep you
Yeah,
cool, man.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
seems fine.
it's water cooling, bro. Don't worry about it.
That's water cooling we never thought about. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
no, so I was out there with some towels and some stuff and cleaning it up and yeah. No, it just means I gotta do some probably trenching around the area to get rid of the water before I move in now. But so yeah, sorry, I got the door. So I just got to spend probably some time over the next couple of weeks and get the door in. I could probably move in there pretty soon. I was just a little bit concerned now because of the water thing, but that's just it is what it is. Other than that, doing a bit of Christmas shopping and yeah,
Yeah.
just living the dream.
I sent out early notification this year. Santa's broke, so he's not doing any shopping because I
Yeah.
bought my wife and my daughter each a car. So I said, that's it. Wife, Christmas, birthdays, Easter, any kind of festivity for the next at least 5 to 6 years is covered. No more.
Done.
No more. Yeah, don't expect anything from me. So we'll see how long that lasts.
6 years in advance. I like
man. It's
it.
gonna plan ahead.
Get them cards and write the car, and then like write what
Yeah.
extras.
No, just do like a deduction,
Here
yeah.
you go.
Do a deduction, yeah. You
It's
owe
nicer
me.
too because they've got a smile every year and they know it's coming. You
Yeah.
just look at them and go, "You're welcome."
Yep.
Alrighty. And Crush, moving on to you, bro. What's been happening in your life lately?
Well, I mean, obviously the PoE release came out, so I've been just complete degen gaming. Like nothing else is getting done. Um, yeah, and now I've just had my last day at work. Breakup day starts at 12 o'clock tomorrow with free drinks, so I'll
Damn you
probably
guys. I still have to work.
rip. So yeah, I'll probably go there for 6 hours, come back pretty tanked, and pull you guys, work on new build guides and stuff like that. But yeah, now that Christmas break started, I'm probably gonna move my computer setup into my spare room because I've got that noisy dog out the back that its bark is so powerful it literally causes my mic to open, which is super frustrating. But
Did we
you
ever
know,
find
I'll
out who
basically
let the
build.
dogs out?
Oh, dude, it's so bad. So yeah, I've put a filter on. Hopefully, moving into that room will just be that little bit of dampening I need to stop it from opening the mic. But we'll see. I mean, after that, look at getting some sort of compressor or something like that. And yeah, the I'm probably gonna change my schedule around as well since I'm off. I might try and see what it's like to live as a streamer. So like get up, go to gym, game for 8 hours, and then I don't know, think about working together on a build video guide, something like that. Sort of dip the toe in on YouTube. So yeah, that's sort of personal stuff.
Okay, awesome. So busy time for everyone. Screw you guys because you guys get to go on leave. I only get to go on leave the 3 days between Boxing Day and New Year's. Unfortunately, I have a demanding job. So for those that care or don't know, I work in cybersecurity. So this is the time where hackers like to come shopping. This is their busy period, their Black Friday. So it is a pretty hectic time, but it is all good. Other than that, it's been pretty chill, just busy with family life. Nothing else interesting happening. Yeah, no news
Cool.
is good news, I guess.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So let's see. One of the things I wanted to talk about was what we're doing on Twitch and what we're trying to achieve on Twitch. So I know we've all been streaming. I had one massive snafu where I took a
Oh, yeah.
break and I forgot to turn my Twitch stream off. So I had like a 19-hour stream of which 2/3 was just my desktop, which was a little bit embarrassing. So we'll try not to
I
do that
had the
again.
I had the first 2 hours of one of my streams. I had the wrong monitor displayed, but because I didn't have like on my third monitor, I didn't have my Twitch up. I didn't really pick up on it. I was just enjoying gaming.
Yeah.
And yeah, I looked over. I changed tabs, and I'm looking at Streamlabs, and I'm like, wait a second. I've literally just been streaming on Twitch for nearly 2 hours, just a window showing
Funny, bro.
Windowception, just a camera in a camera in a camera in a camera, like just of
Open it.
Streamlabs showing Streamlabs. Like,
Yeah, man.
fuck that up.
I had someone come into one of my streams and tell me there's no sound. I had muted the sound and forgotten to put it back on. So you could see the picture, but there was no one home. So technical difficulties. Chaos, how's your streaming been going? I know you've been streaming.
I haven't
Kevin?
streamed for the last few days. The first few days, it's resolution issues and
Yeah, but
the game being too loud and me not being loud enough, that kind of stuff. So there was a couple of days ago where I think I got it right now, but I haven't actually streamed since then. But yeah, same kind of deal. Just a
Don't touch
few
it, it
issues here and
works.
there. Yeah.
yeah, we should probably both work together on over the next day or two because, like I said, I want to stream like 8 hours a day or something soon here. So if we could fix our resolution issues, I think we'll be golden.
Yeah.
We've all had some good long streams, trying to hit those goals, the community goals for Twitch. I've had a few people jump in and out and comment. A lot of people trying to, scam me. I've had someone try and convince me to buy services as a, what do they call it, a
Oh,
promoter?
earbotting.
No, promoter.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, yes. But when I look at the person on Discord, they joined this year. Dude, they don't know what I do for a living. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
I first started talking to the person. They were friendly and everything, but it's like, but we'll figure it out. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We have some cool ideas for multi-streaming when we do group content. I think once everyone has a build that is end content ready, it'll be nice to do some streaming together. We did some testing tonight. That was pretty fun. Even though Crush was running around running away from every pack that approached him with his wizard. That was funny. But we'll get there. I think that'll be fun. And then spend some time trying to figure out what people want to see on Twitch. Eventually, we're hoping to bring this podcast live to both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. I think there's some rules around YouTube, like what you can, like you have to be in a certain state before you can live stream. I don't know if they've changed that. I think it used to be you had to have like 1,000 views or subscribers or some shit. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So it's all good. But we'll get there. The other thing I wanted to talk about. So one of the things we're trying to achieve with the whole Twitch streaming, where we're all jumping so like both feet first into Twitch, is we're trying to build a community where we have, people joining us, either joining our guild in the games that we play, and coming and hanging out in Discord with us, but also, have some people where we have a bit of a community going, and when someone tries to get into streaming, we all jump in and support that person in streaming. We all know how difficult it is to get into it. There's a lot of milestones you have to hit with so many unique chats and unique views and blah, blah, blah. So we really want to try and build a community where we can help people do that. To do that, we have to build our own community and our own following, but that is kind of the intention behind Twitch streaming. All right. Yeah. So did you want to say something else, Cash?
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. So it is a slow slog.
Yeah, I mean, we've just decided to just hit the go button simultaneously, which is great because we've talked about it for so long. So I'm sure that 10 podcasts in and 100 hours in, it's all going to be second nature, and we're going to be focusing on the other aspects of it, like the time tags, the YouTube uploads, and start putting 10 30-minute things up, and getting some feedback on that, tweaking the audio stuff.
I've got a bunch of ideas for trying to make short and interesting videos, because we don't want to make everything long. People don't always have time to watch a 2 or 3 hour video. They want to watch the highlights. So figuring that out. I think it'll be good. We'll get there. I mean, we only spoke about this for 1.5, 2 years, guys, before we actually got around to doing it. We've been talking about this for how many years now? Probably more than 2 years. But yeah, we finally got there. Okay, so on to newsworthy topics for the stream. Shall we start with the Game Awards? What the hell is going on there?
Yeah.
Quote unquote for everything we say, like Astrobot Game of the Year.
I know, on a whole bunch of things. It's just, well, again,
I don't have anything against Astrobot. It's a cute game, but Game of the Year, come on.
No, I think it's like mainstream media, right? It's like a sideways version of that, where they go to the mainstream gaming networks, which we know are not on gamers' sides, and influencers, and they're not influencers that we would watch that are voting on these things.
Yeah.
It's not gamers voting for games that gamers like. It's just some people, journalists, whatever.
It's the person with the megaphone, essentially.
Yeah, and putting games forth that we as gamers would never even look at. So yeah, crazy stuff. Pretty disappointing.
So excuse me if you can hear the dogs in the back. My wife is playing with the dogs and going absolutely bonkers. So Crush, go.
Just the fact that, did Wukong win anything? Did they win first place at anything?
Yeah, it was.
They won first place. They won something.
There was one, yeah. I can't remember what it was. Best action game or something like that.
I mean, good, but some of the I guess awards that they lost or weren't even nominated for. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, it's an action game, but it is an RPG as well, and to have them not even in the listing, I get, okay, you don't want one game to win for 5 categories or something like that, sure, but at least have them as a nominee over something that we've never heard of. And
that was one of the interesting ones. I think I think it was the RPG category actually, that Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't even one of the top
Nominee.
5 or whatever. And it's like, how? How is that possible?
Yeah.
Is it because they classed it as a turn-based game? Like
That's
I don't
still a
know,
role
man.
playing game.
It's just crazy.
So this is the problem. Uh, this is the problem with the games awards. You have, as Chaos mentioned, you've got the wrong people selecting games for the game awards. How do we go about changing that? Like, how do we get to a point? Like, this is obviously not a small answer question, but how do we get to a point where there are game awards based on feedback from gamers? Like Steam does something similar where
Yeah,
you vote for
I was
games.
gonna say. Yeah,
So,
I was gonna say the same thing. That's probably the closest we've got at the moment is actually
yeah,
the Steam games, and that's not all the games, but at least that's
gamers input. Yeah.
people that are buying the games voting it. Like that's close. That's probably as close as we're probably going to get for a long time.
So that
Yeah.
brings me to my next question. Like, what's the role of the game awards then? If the game awards is not about the games, because if it was about the games, it would be the gamers voting for it. What's the
It's gone
purpose of the game
Hollywood,
awards?
hey?
Yeah, it
It's gone
has.
Yeah.
Hollywood. Like it's literally just people. I don't know, like with insider, like friendly, like oh, this is my friend's game. We got to put it in there. Like, or
I
maybe
don't.
there's money being thrown around it. It's literally just people getting things to add to their resume or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know.
So then, in that vein, what weight does the game of the year actually carry, other than you getting the goatee, the name on it in Steam or something, the GOTY, like for game of the year? Like, other than that, what's the purpose of it? Like, what is the value of winning that?
Yeah, and it's funny because I I almost have the opposite. What do you call it? Like almost opinion or affinity now because you see games like Astrobot that wins like 3 out of the 7 or 8 categories, and it's like, well, I'm never going to play that game. And then out of the other categories, there's some other game that won 3 of them, and it's a game of I can't even pronounce. I've never seen before. What the hell is that? And I'll never play that game. So who was it for?
I'm sure
It's
it's
not for
nothing to
me.
do with the fact that Astrobot was free if you pay PlayStation Network for their internet access. Nothing to do with that, I'm
Astrobots.
sure.
It's a very cute little family game. Like it won in the family category. Great, that's perfect. It is a super cute game. You essentially put on a VR goggles, and you're like the overlord. You are controlling the Astrobot. It's like you're in the environment, and you got this little Astrobot running around. You controlling him. Really, really cute, fun little platformer in 3D. Great fun. My kids loved it, but that's about as far as it goes. So then, is these Game of the Year awards actually hurting the gaming industry? Because I wonder how many other people are also thinking, you know what, um, I'm tired of this. I'm feeling boxed in, and I'm just not going to play this because gamers have now learned. I've seen in this last year, they've learned to start talking with their wallets, so they are
Yeah,
now fighting back.
yeah, absolutely. Because I think even people like us, right? We go and we look at people that we know that play real games, and get an opinion generally from what that game looks like from them, like maybe Asmon, those sort of guys, and go, okay, they gave it a fair crack.
Yeah,
They gave their assessment. I would trust them many times over compared to some random network.
yeah,
Absolutely not. And they give it a good go and they give it a fair review, I find.
yeah.
And I can generally tell if the game's for me by them
Watching,
playing
yeah,
it. Not necessarily their reviews, but at least them playing it. And I'm like,
yeah.
that looks
I might
something
like
I'd
it.
be into. Um, I will listen to their reviews anyway, just to get a different point of view. But yeah, I wouldn't listen to IGN or any of those because they've proven to be wrong for I don't know how many years now. Too long.
Yeah.
It's become a bit of a joke every time you see IGN rate a game. and it's like who rolls
Means
their
nothing.
eyes the loudest. Because like
No.
almost I find these days their ratings are the opposite of what's good in the market. So games they rate down are the games that
I
are
think
actually
that
good.
they go. I think it's just
Yeah.
everything is between 8 and 10. Do they even do 9s? It's just everything's 8. Sometimes it's a 10.
I don't know.
Depends how much
I
the
don't even
pay
look
is.
at them anymore. The
Yeah.
only time I know about the scores is when it comes up in a review or something else that I'm watching or listening to, where they say, "Oh, it was rated this by IGN." Like, oh, okay, well that doesn't
Or it's
So
pinned
seem
in
good.
Steam or something.
that does bring up a bit of a point, I suppose, as well about games like Black Myth Wukong, where there's this I can't think of the word for it, but a stigma around the developers, and they try and shut games down. Like it happened with Stellar Blade as well, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
like, what are you doing? You know, you're creating this social problem for a game that's designed for people to play. Like, what the hell's going on?
but that's also
Um,
backfiring because sorry, Chaos, I
well,
didn't mean to interrupt you there.
no, that's exactly the point, right? They'll go and like you were saying, if they give it a bad rating, you're like, oh, is this a good game? Because of things like that. So they'll go, oh, this is some sexist developer and they're a horrible piece of shit. And then you're like, but is the game good?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because
they
at the end
got
of the day,
Stellar Blade got review bombed pretty hard, and the game did great. And
yeah,
everyone,
but it's the
I think all the
same.
devs put out
It's about the
announcements, and they
character
were like, "We're not
creation.
interested."
It's about the
yeah,
characters. So you had Stellar Blade, which accentuated woman curves and all the rest of it. But that's what the gamers want to play, because when you played, what was the other game that came out with
well,
characters that just looked so bland that it was like, ew,
yeah,
no one wants to play that.
you're
What a
not,
Concord, the
A few
characters
of
in there
them.
looked like they were cobbled together. But this is
we're
where the
not
players are
playing
talking
games
back.
to, we're not playing games to play real life.
Oh,
You
we get
know,
away from real life
we
or play
have real
games.
life already.
Yeah.
We're playing it to escape real life, for better or worse, temporarily, to have a good time. And if you're putting in people that you'd see in real life, it's like, oh my god, like
Well,
Yeah,
if I've got to look at a female character for 8 or 10 hours of gameplay, I'm going to look at a character that's nice to look at. I don't want to look at a character that looks like a blob or like what's going on there. And it's got
yeah,
nothing to do with the actual social aspect of it in real life. I don't look at females in real life like that. We understand that games are make believe, so we expect things to be no, out
yeah,
not normal.
accentuated or
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it's a
not
fantasy
to
or
they're not to ratio or to scale or like a like for real life. We know that. That's why we enjoy playing them. But the
yeah, and it
gamers,
goes
yeah,
it
go.
goes towards their art direction as well, right? That's an art direction that they've taken with their game and how they want to express their game. Who are these people to say you can't do that?
Yeah,
Like it's bizarre to me.
I don't know. I just find it very very funny where you've got a, as far as I'm concerned, a really small select group of people in society that is trying to project their social justice warrior nonsense into an industry
extremely vocal minority.
that wants absolute.
Mm,
And the only reason they're vocal is because most of the people who disagree with them don't say anything because they don't want to make waves, and that's fair enough. But they're trying to project their agenda or their ideas into an industry that has no business having that agenda. The games industry is not about real life. It's about a make-believe life. That's the whole idea about gaming. It's
yeah,
escape. It's a different world. It's a distraction. Why would you want to try and bring something from the real world and copy paste it into a game? People
yeah.
don't play games for that.
It's so funny that whole projection of their worldviews too into games because I don't know how many times I've played female characters in games over the years. Never thought anything of it. It's just one of those things where you're like, oh, you know what? I'll try a chick this time around. Um, what the fuck does that? What does that matter? And then they go and say, oh, well, it has to be this particular race and this particular um, type of body or whatever it is. on a character that you have, you're forced to play this particular type of character. It's like, I don't. We've always had this flexibility. Why are you forcing it on people now? I don't understand why it's such a big
It's
deal. Never
it's
used to be.
almost as if the developers are making the game for themselves to feel good about themselves. They don't actually care about
Yeah.
the gamers. How many developers
Well,
in the last year have been not attacked, but have been pushed back vigorously by the gamers about their artwork, their design, their game story, and then they actually turn on the gamers and tell the gamers that they're stupid and they don't know what they're doing. These are literally the people you are creating a product for. You need them to like it and buy it. Why would
yeah.
you attack your customer? Like, I don't get that mentality.
Yeah, it's very, very strange.
It's the, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the gaming industry has lost its marbles,
But
and it's
but I
one of
think
the
you can
things
see,
that made us make Galactic Gamers is we're trying to
yeah,
like we need to, how do we bring this back? Right? We need to start this conversation where
Course
we
correct. Yeah.
where
yeah, and
we need to course correct. Yeah,
I think you can see the like we initially started about talking about the Game Awards, um, that whole sort of narrative and agenda and whatever it it's filtered its way into that as well, right?
yeah,
And it's obvious for us. We can see it all. We can see it in the games. We've seen it coming in through the games for years. It's in the Game Awards. It's in everything, and it's like you don't need to do it. There's no reason to do it. Like it's not. It's benefiting no one.
well,
In fact, it's forcing. It's well, not forcing, but it's pushing people away from a game that could have been good.
yeah.
But because we've had enough of it.
But that's the
Because
funny
we're all
thing. I
had
think,
enough. You see
yeah,
it in a game, and you're like, I am not touching that.
I think the tides are changing now, so to speak. I think we've definitely, at the back end of that movement. I
Yeah,
reckon
yeah.
I hope so.
I think there was a bit
we're
of a
still
dry
there,
spot.
but
There was a bit of a dry spot in game releases, game quality, game development, where there wasn't a lot for us to choose from. World of Warcraft was a benchmark, and there's a lot of games that have tried to follow it and failed. Every new big MMO is the Warcraft killer, and it hasn't really done it. While Warcraft has dropped significantly, it's still very, very popular. And gamers play games to escape reality. They play it to have a
Yeah,
distraction from reality. And because our choices have been limited, we've been kind of forced to just accept what's coming out. And I think that certain stakeholders in the industry have recognized that and say, well, we get to push this nonsense out on gamers because, well, they have to listen to us. They're controlling
and
that source.
they've leveraged it hard as well over these
Yeah.
few years. Like
But they,
even just like the thing I heard the other day that made me crack up was the World of Warcraft. They went to like this panel and it was the classic team, and this chick said, "Look, you guys, we've heard that you guys want something new, so we're releasing classic." It's just
like a
like,
remake of a remake.
oh,
Really,
they're
guys?
releasing the
how
classic for the second time, and she
Classic Square.
literally introduced it as new.
yeah. How old is Classic though? I mean, the vanilla, I should say.
I don't
Is it
know,
20, 25 years now?
1998
It's
or something.
It's and then they're releasing
I
it
got it.
20 years later as a here's a new experience. It's like,
so that brings up
can you
an
not see that what you've been doing for the last 10, 20 years is a massive failure, and your original game from 20 years ago is where it's at? It's like, wake up to yourselves.
so
Holy dooly, man.
this brings up another interesting point. Like you got the big AAA game developers, like you got Blizzard. I mean, I don't know. I know myself and Chaos, we just refuse to play Blizzard games now on principle just because of how they've treated their
Yep,
customers. So yeah, Crush, you're the same.
100%.
So we've stopped doing it because you have these big name games that build all this hype about a game. They release it at a premium price. The game is shoddy coming out the gates. They nerf everything. They literally make the player's experience hell. Excuse the pun because of Diablo, but if you think about it,
Huh.
they don't care about our experience, and the opinion, or not the opinion, so the kind of thing that I get from them when the way they treat the players with this stuff is like it's a privilege, um it's a privilege for you to play our game. So you should thank us. You should just accept whatever we give you and pay whatever we give you. I mean, Chaos was it, or was it myself and Crush? We played, I think, a few days of Diablo, like maybe 1 week, and then I was like, this is absolutely horrendous, and I just
Done.
stopped playing, and I've never touched it again.
Yeah.
I think
I
Chaos,
think all
you had
three
the
of us
same.
were on 4. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's you have these big names that have gotten so big for their britches, as it were, that they think they own the market, and they've said, like, well, you guys have to take it. And they've pushed the gamers to a point now where the gamers have had enough and they're now pushing back. And you've got like, what was the
And
Star Wars?
competitors.
Yeah, well, so competitors is a separate topic, but you got the Star Wars that came out that was so bad that everyone was like, what nonsense is this? And the developers like, but wait, it's Star Wars. You guys should be all fanboying about it. It's like, yeah, we're Star Wars fans, but we want a good product. You can't just lean on that, the fact that you're a good brand, and we just have to love the game. And then on top of that, they put all that social nonsense into with a character that I don't know what they were thinking when they designed the character in Star Wars.
I can't even say I'm a Star Wars fan anymore.
Yeah,
What they've done with that franchise over the
yeah,
last few years, it's
same,
like
yeah.
it's not even Star Wars to me anymore, man.
Yeah, the amount of politics that's got into all of these things is horrendous. They've destroyed that. But so that's being said, I mean, there was a developer, I forget, on one of the games. I don't know, was it Avowed or was it Concord? Where in their bio they talk about disrupting the gaming industry and their purpose is to destroy the gaming industry. Like how do and this is
Why make games?
develop
Do something
this is
else.
a developer they're in the gaming industry. Like, why would you be in the industry if you want to destroy it?
Yeah.
This poison has gotten into the roots of the gaming industry, and it's just everything has been wrecked.
Yeah, and I think those social aspects, we seem to see them in gaming before we see them in, the rest of the
Yeah,
like news and whatever else. You always see these sort of weird little social movements in gaming, and then it trickles into everything else. It's quite interesting actually that it always seems to be that way.
it's amazing how they use these media. Like they do the same with movies. They push certain social agendas and concepts in movies, and then you'll see it happen in a year or 2 or 3 in the real world. And you're like, where have I seen this before? It was actually in movies. Like the COVID thing. Have you guys heard of that movie called Songbird?
No.
It was about COVID, like, but the year was like 2030, how they were like, oh, COVID was still going on. So they use all these things to push it. But so anyway, moving back to another, the topic we were talking about before. So the good thing about this is there's a lot of smaller industries, a lot of smaller developer studios that are now spinning up. And they are trying, I think a lot of them are trying to course correct. They're trying to go back to the roots of where gaming was about the gamers and about the enjoyment of playing the game. But now you've got the big names that are having an absolute shit fit because a lot of them are actually, some of them are doing really, really well. A really good example would be Palworld. You had the likes of Nintendo and, Pokemon and all the rest of the stuff. And then along comes this tiny little team. They make Palworld and it absolutely explodes on the scene, has this huge following. And now all of a sudden,
They hit 14th on the Steam's world record for most concurrent players of all time.
crazy.
Oh, wow.
But they're a tiny little studio. So what's happening is these tiny studios are showing up the big studios that have got multi-million-dollar budgets. You have tiny teams with small budgets making games that absolutely blow up. And the story that the big developers have been telling us, like, oh, it's so difficult, it takes so long, all stuff, is actually diddly squat. It's horseradish because small studios are doing what they're saying they can't do with their multi-million-dollar budgets. It's probably because that same social nonsense is what's clogging up the wheels there, but that's just conjecture. So it is funny though.
Indie's definitely killing it at the moment, and I think because of this movement that we've just been discussing for the last little while, and the fact that Indie is just tearing up the market right now with much smaller studios, overheads wise, and more freedom, and good support, and the way that they release their games too, where they don't use good advertisement to secure pre-orders, and then they release basically what they deemed as like an early access as practically the full game. They had about 20% more content, and then call it a day. Let's move on to the next thing. So it's good that these games are, and AAA is definitely stepping back, and just I don't know, consolidating their agendas and plans and things. Like a lot of games are getting shifted 2 years out or just canned altogether. I'm loving it. It's great. I feel like
Yeah.
with the resurgence is finally started, and it's here.
I love the fact that you have these small studios making games with artwork and gameplay that the players really like, and then they go huge, like small games that go absolutely blow up, and the big studios are like, but why? Why do the gamers love this game that looks so good? Why don't
I
they
was just
like my
thinking,
plain Jane freaking, socially charged game that I put out with a big budget on marketing and hype? Why don't they like my game? And they haven't
yeah,
cottoned on yet, but I think they are cottoning on now. That is because the players they don't want that nonsense.
yeah. Well, it's like a red flag to us. We're just like, oh, stay away from that. Yuck.
Yeah. Like we've got
What I was going to say is,
movements that started up now that when a game has certain things in it, or certain studios or certain story writers or whatever in it, they actively band together and say, don't buy this game, so it crashes.
yeah. Yep.
I love it. Like
Um,
gamers are standing up together.
one game that we played a while back, Valheim.
Yeah.
I've noticed, quite a few games now, using their, well, it might not be theirs, but the like progression style of Valheim. That sort of progression up through the different the tiers with the
Yeah.
materials and the way you build and that survival style. There's been so many of those spun out over the last little while, but everyone puts their little spin on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, which is cool because again, it's a little indie studio putting something together. The idea is great, and then other developers grab it, make their version of it, and you know, with enough of these things, eventually there'll be a standout one that'll just kill it. So the more of these indie developers sharing their own ideas between themselves and their different, what are they, genres, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll start getting some really, really killer games from the smaller studios.
I mean,
I
Baldur's
agree.
Gate, Valheim,
I
Yeah,
PoE2,
agree.
all of them are in the top 15 on concurrent players.
So so that brings up an interesting
awesome.
question. Are the AAA studio games stuck in a rut because of the way they're so big? They have a board of directors, they have investors and everything. They can't
Yeah,
explore outside of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
works.
They've
So they stuck in this, and then all you do is you throw in the poison with all the social nonsense, everything else we don't
yeah.
care about. That only
Well,
just is just a recipe for failure.
well they've
predatory
got a
monetization.
they've got a recipe that works. They pump out this, a slightly modified, changed version the next year. That's the same game, because the recipe's set. It's like the Avengers movies, right? There's a formula that they follow.
Yeah,
Um, but everyone's like, I've done this before.
yeah.
I don't need to do it another 6 times. I've had enough.
So then what we need to
So
do is
yeah,
we
I
need
think
to
there is.
Yeah,
yeah.
let's not have another two Joker remakes next year. Come on.
Oh God, please! I haven't even watched the last three. I think. Um,
Yeah,
so what we need to do as a community then is find a way to support these smaller studios, give them good feedback, and if there's 10 studios trying to make something interesting, if at least 6 or 7 of them are honest to God trying to make something for the gamers, we're in a good spot. Um,
Yeah,
and I think the studios shouldn't look at getting as big as like the Blizzards and things like that, because you get to a certain point where your games can't be about the gamers anymore. It's about the money. It's about the
yeah,
investors, and they pull the strings and tell you what they want to see in it because they have the clout now with the money invested in it.
yeah. It's interesting. I suppose that's probably one thing that they would struggle with is marketing, actually, because without the big streamers and stuff like that playing their game, they wouldn't even get any airtime, which can be a shame. if it's actually a good game, that they don't get out there as well as they could have or should have.
Crush, did you want to talk about what was happening with the Pal World,
Oh yeah.
the lawsuits? Because that's interesting as well. Some precedents and setting
It's
stuff there.
Yeah, I've got a few points. Like I won't deep dive it, but it's something to keep an eye on, and we'll probably, if it as it develops, it's not something that's going to be wrapped up in a short amount of time. I could imagine going to be a lot of like ongoing battles. And it's multifaceted as well. There's going to be the main lawsuits, but then there's also some going to be some tertiary things where Pocket Pair, who are the people that made Power World, they're going to have to challenge the patents that Nintendo filed after the game was released. So let's bring my notes down. So
That's only
After
because
release.
they
basically,
didn't patent their gameplay. So if they had patented their
no.
gameplay, then Nintendo wouldn't have been able to do it. Or
Well, no, patenting after is okay. That's sort of basically standard practice because once you apply for a patent, as long as you have all the evidence there that you've been working with what you're trying to apply for patent wise, then that's okay. So it sounds like wrong, but it's just common. It's just how it's done.
no, but what I meant
So
was
that
sorry. So Nintendo's submitted a patent for their gameplay. If Palwood had
yes,
done
so
something, then Nintendo wouldn't have actually been able to compete with a patent because they had patented their stuff. But because Nintendo's now doing it and they haven't done it, then they would fall behind it. I don't know. Like I'm trying to understand what's the
okay, so the TLDR is Nintendo filed for a few patents after Power World's release in January 2024. Three patents were filed between February and March of 2024 by Nintendo. One of them was like throwing a ball in a field to
Oh
capture a
my god.
creature and have it join your team, right? So they're kind of vague,
Very
but
broad.
that's what they're launching the lawsuits against Powerworld for this, and an injunction as well, which is a big question mark. That could be anything. Literally, they could say like, you're not allowed to sell your game on these platforms, or you have to pay us royalties, or you are going to be forced to alter your game to take these patent infringements, out of your release. But the thing is, the patent process didn't seem to follow standard practice in the way it was filed because there's supposed to be, after application, there's supposed to be time for other people to challenge it. That never took place. So that's why this is going to be a multi-pronged sort of lawsuit that takes quite a bit of time to get through. The interesting thing that I will add to that, though, is that Pocket Pair also made a game back in 2020 called Craftopia, which follows the same thing. They throw a prism, not a ball, to capture monsters and have them, join your team. So
Hmm.
so it's interesting. I
yeah,
guess from a patent perspective, Nintendo could say, well, look, this is our game model's been since the beginning of time, since the beginning of Pokemon. So they would be able to use that argument. But then from a gamer's perspective, like you haven't done shit with this system. Someone else has made something interesting that mimics something similar and it's now popular. And it's like you suffering from FOMO and saying, no, we should have done that or we could have done that. So you must give us money. This is where we need
yeah,
better ways of allowing competition in the industry, where giants like Nintendo and Blizzard and these big names can't just control it. Like if you haven't done something with content or a style, like you can patent something, but how do you patent okay, so let them throw a boomerang instead of a ball or a cube or something like. Just,
yeah.
if
It's a bit
if
like that.
Pal World developers then say, okay, well, we're going to patent a prism, so you can throw a ball, we'll throw a prism. We don't care as gamers. I can tell you, like, we don't really care. Like for us, I think the childhood flashback of throwing the ball, the Pokemon thing, will have a lot of people going down memory lane. Like I used to love Pokemon as a kid, so it would be nice to throw a ball. But I really wouldn't care what shape the thing was that I was throwing, as
I
long as I
think
could experience that. Like,
I think it kills a bit of creativity too, and can open it. It can open it up for some pretty bad practices too. Because what happens if like Call of Duty goes, oh look, we've got an AK-47 in our game.
Yep.
No one
Exactly.
else is allowed to have an AK-47 because
That's
it's in our game.
that's
And
the
if you want to
reason
use
why.
it, you're gonna have to pay us royalties.
Yeah.
To me, it's the same thing. It's just a
Yeah.
ball. Who
Exactly.
cares?
It sets a precedent. That is what I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people are concerned about,
Yeah, yeah.
because now you're going to have the big name developers like Activision, for example. They can say, "Oh no, 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 well, something like PUBG. No, you can't do that because we've patented the use of guns. But now only they
Yeah.
can make games with guns. How does that argument scale? The one that Pal was using, like, how does that scale? That being said, though, I think there's laws that only work in Japan. I think it is in the Asia countries where some of these laws work. I remember when I first started looking into the Pal World thing, there was the way that the suits and the stuff is the lawsuit stuff is set up. It's always in Nintendo's favor, and there's laws that are specific to that country that would make it really difficult for a challenger. But it may well be fine in other countries. So maybe Palworld just doesn't play in
Well,
the
Japan.
Japanese version it has a cube where everyone else has a ball. Like,
So Japan doesn't have fair use. So
okay,
I think what they're doing is going through American law. I'm not too sure, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit of a mess. So I guess we'll keep an
it's
eye on it.
scary because
And
if Powell don't fight this, if they settle or lose, then what's next? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's a
this
precedent.
could be the death
Yeah.
of gaming. You know what I mean? Like it's just because there's money on the table, and AAA have all the money, and
yeah,
India just going to have to fold, and it's going to be one patent after another before we can't even make Pong again
you
because of
see, now this is where I get really upset because this is what's killing the gaming industry. The giants that have these huge banks, like wads of cash banking them, they literally
infinite money.
they steamroll the little guys. So how do we end up starting like a freaking a black market of games? You know, like the olden days,
Hmm.
Pirate Bay and shit, where you download games and you like, do we? How do we as gamers get around this? How do we as gamers let the developers know we just won't support your games?
I don't know.
Like,
I just
Yeah, and yeah,
I don't know, somehow rally behind Power World and support them. The whole community, the whole gaming
it's
community
it's
worldwide
not just
needs to.
Palworld you're rallying behind; it's the gaming industry. The
Yeah.
problem is life is pretty hectic at the moment, so our escapism, which is games, is kind of our one of our very few outlets that's healthy to most degrees. So we're going to be like, well, if we do that, we got nothing. If we
yeah,
sacrifice
and
this, we still have some. Like, it's
games like Pokemon, they have their audience, and they'll probably always have an audience because younger kids that pick up a Switch or whatever, Pokemon, right? So
I love those Pokemon.
they're never going to go away, and their money's not going to run up anytime soon. So
But they've
very
also had their
difficult.
day. Like, there's nothing new in the Pokemon world.
They've
Yeah,
definitely let that IO sort of, I don't
stagnate.
know,
That
Yeah,
IP has
stagnate.
definitely gone
Yeah.
stagnant. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where's my, like the Zelda Ocarina stuff where they had the 3D sandbox stuff? Where's my run around open world Pokemon sort of, like MMO? I don't know. Like, where's
Called Power
something
World.
more innovative being released. Well, Power World, yeah, and we
yeah.
had gun
It's called
shooting.
Power World.
Yeah,
It's
it
almost
did
like
really
Nintendo's pissed. They
well.
never thought about it. Yeah.
Maybe they could work together. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't like how there's the cynical route has been taken instead of learning from it, working together, to create games that are more interesting and learning from each other.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
The
Like, there's
gaming
no
industry is a
reason why
multi-million
one
dollar industry.
company can't ask the other company, "Hey, that's a great idea. Can we implement that?" Yeah, sure. Look, I like this. Can we, like whatever? Like it should just be everyone looking at what the other people do, giving it the nod, and just, you know, just everyone work together to pull all these ideas to just make better games. I don't know. I just want better games, damn it.
Yeah,
This is
Yeah.
crap.
I just want some
I'm sick
games
of
to
this.
play, man.
I don't
I,
want games to get worse. We're coming back to a golden era. Like, let's
yeah,
keep
I
going.
really hope so. I think we are moving back towards that. But I mean, that was one of the driving forces about creating GGG is trying to be a voice for that and finding a way to help guide back that way. So anyway, let's move on to more interesting topics, not more interesting, more happy topics, because I think we all just start getting depressed when we talk about things like Power World and Blizzard and what these big guys are doing. So PoE 2, our favorite
boy.
topic and the bane of our existence for the last week, some change since it's been out. Right, so first of all, news and updates. They had a bit of a dodgy start with servers, but overall, for the size of its release, I think it was pretty damn
I was
decent.
pretty damn impressed. Yeah, they hit number 1 on Twitch. They had like 1 million people trying to log in the first 24 hours, like above and beyond.
Yeah. So
Like I
first
think
and foremost, shout out.
Diablo 4 was, I think, taken down. Like you did a search, you couldn't find it, and then like when you searched specifically for Diablo 4, there was like 700 viewers or something. Like crazy that they were able to do that.
So yeah, shout out to Jonathan and his
impressive.
team from GGG, because those guys worked their butts off to get that game launched. There was a lot of prep that went into it. And that's the kind of stuff that makes gamers like us excited, because it's that kind of passion behind games that we look for, and that's the stuff we rally behind. We discussed this in the last podcast, but I mean, the money they make from selling nothing more than glamours, or what's it, MTX, people buy it just because they want to support the game. There's no drive behind it. That's the kind of passion you need to get into games. But then you've got as well making some tough calls in the beginning. I know there was 2 big nerf rounds already in some skills. And you know, us gamers, we are passionate people. We love to find stuff that breaks the game and then bitch about it, and then or brag about it. And then when there's whoa, that's breaking the game, we're gonna patch that. Then throw our toys at the cots like spoiled children, because you made my build that absolutely destroys the game, thereby minimizing the game content they put so much effort into creating, that they get nerfed, and then people throw their toys at the cart. I think Jonathan and his team have done a really, really great job of trying to balance that and communicate with players. They don't always get it right. The dot in the wrong place. I think there was a story for why the 3-slot belts were not dropping. I thought was funny. Everyone's trying to figure out why can't we get belts with 3 slots. And it just turns out that there was like a problem with the drop rate. They've had a couple of big
decimal place was 1 over.
Yeah. So they've had a couple of big nerfs that have impacted some builds, but overall, I think the builds are all still very viable. I haven't played PoE as much as you guys has. Like I said, only about 1,000 hours compared to you guys, probably about 3,500. But overall, the game's always been really good at balancing out the builds and keeping multiple builds viable. I love the approach of, if a game or if a build feels like I have to play this to be good and progress in the game, it's that build is broken. Like if you feel like you have no choice but to play this setup, that build is broken. And that's a really good way to go about it.
Yeah, I think if something's super broken, my advice to most players would be to just stay away from it, because you might get accustomed to that ease of gameplay, which seems fun, but what you'll find is the novelty wears off.
It spoils the gameplay.
And it just gets boring. Like GGG have done an amazing job of towing the line with these nerfs, but then listening to the players' feedback. Okay, we're going to reduce the respecking on gold by 50% as well to help out with that. You know what I mean? Like, and like it's early access. There's bugs. There's I saw someone the other day fight a worm boss. The loot dropped inside the boss's like in-game model, and the loot was stuck inside the model, and he was clicking in, and he couldn't loot it no matter.
That's like trying to
see bugs.
Yeah, that's like trying to pick up loot behind someone's death box. Chaos and I were playing, and then one of us would die, and the loot's behind the death box, and you can't pick it up because the death box is in the way. You have to leave for the death box to go away so you can pick it up. And that's I think that's a really important point. So a lot of people are playing the game and complaining about it as if it is a full release, full game, ready to go. And let's be honest, the quality of the game is far beyond most early access games we ever play.
It's it's like
It's very good.
it's like
Yeah.
it's as polished as Diablo 4 gameplay now. Like it really
Yeah.
is, and it's EA. Like it's only going to get cleaner.
So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm glad that I'm getting to get into PoE at the start, because with
You're loving
PoE
it,
one,
and
with
I
PoE
love that you're loving
one,
it.
I was struggling to keep up because there were so many leagues before that I didn't know the mechanics, and I don't have the time, the patience to research how what's that league with the where you got to choose who dies and who goes into the prison and who goes. What do you call that one?
Betrayal.
You see,
Oh,
like
betrayal. Yeah.
I don't know how this stuff works. I was like, that's too complicated to figure out. But with PoE 2 now, I get to start from the beginning. And it seems like I made a really solid choice for my first character. The monk had a bit of a dodgy start trying to figure stuff out. But now my monk is absolutely decimating contents and I'm having a blast. But the gameplay was not easy for me. It was nice ups and downs of challenging, and I really got to experiment with the tree before I started looking at how other people are doing it. And there's been some really interesting versions of builds that's come out. So I'm quite keen to see what's still going to come out. So my monk invoker is, I think, my build is solid now. It's just tweaking it to finish end game content now. I mean, I'm steamrolling tier 13 maps. So I think I'm well on my way to actually probably be the first of the three of us that actually finishes the game content, which is ironic because I'm the one with the least gameplay experience out of the three of us. But having an absolute blast. Crash, you've made like 3 characters and got them into maps now?
Oh yeah, 3 in maps now.
So
Yeah,
tell me
there's,
tell me about the 3 characters you've got, the builds you've had, and some challenges or issues you've found with the builds, because you've had a couple of interesting ones, and I know Kaz has had some ones, and I have some thoughts around like some game mechanics that at the end we can kind of go through the game mechanics that we think are not optimized. I know there's quite a split in the community around the difficulty of the game, but yeah. So tell us about your builds, and what you've got and what's working, what's not working.
at the moment, I'm playing an Archmage, which is something that stacks a lot of mana, and harnesses mana for both defensive and offensive purposes. So it's something that is quite linear. As you gear it up, its power really does pop off at the late game. And honestly, is kind of snappy in the mid game as well. And early game, it's completely busted. So it's a really nice, it's Captain Lance that has made it extremely popular. But there's just the gem needs a nerf. Frankly, it's too much added damage. You can get like 500% of your damage added as extra lightning later on. It's just too much. But it's fun. I'm just, you cover the entire field in little lightning projectiles that
Yeah, you
arc
give me
across the
archives when I play with you because there's just lights flashing everywhere. If I was
Yeah.
epileptic, I'd probably be having an epileptic fit every 5 seconds
Yeah.
because of all the lights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then quickly, the other two, one of them's a Thorns build, which is a really cool concept. I've got some ideas on to like how to try and make Thorns a build. It's just not though. Um, like yeah, I've spent some time playing around with it. I'm happy with the theory crafting that I've invested into it for now, but I'm just going to bench that until we get maybe some of the new classes and ascendancies for gems, because there's plenty more over the next 6 months. We've only got half the classes. I think 30% of the support gems are still hidden. Probably 5 weapon types aren't even in the game yet, so that's on the shelf for now. And then again, there's another character that is harnessing a unique, which is my favorite unique at the moment, which gives you a lot of spell damage with spirit stacking. So again, that's just a project that will sit there until I'm ready to figure out how to fully execute it. One final build though that I'm working on. There's a friend of mine that and I asked if I could talk about this, but he's disabled, so he finds it really hard to play the game, and like so much so that the right mouse button hurts to push, right?
Okay.
So he's very limited with what he can do, and like the game has some capability. Like we're working on a build where he can basically just running simulator it with a lot of minions and some very high defense, and just automate as much as we can, and right now he's waiting for his friend to come over and look at his CPU because it's overheating. But I'm excited to get him back through the axe and keep pumping. So that's just cool. I love that
That's awesome.
it's possible. I love that it's possible, and I would love to. I need to like put a post out there for people that are making some uniques to put into the game. I would love to see some uniques that might help people, that have accessibility issues that can actually clear content. Like an item that has damage that increases up to say 200%, but if you perform an action, then it resets down to nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like a way in which they can, you know what I mean, like make a
Yeah,
build and enjoy this wonderful game. So
yeah.
that's
You also had a
that's a
minion
fun
build
build.
though.
Yeah, minion build. I mean, not much to be said there. It's minions. You run around. It's powerful. Like it could definitely smash through the whole game, but you're a little bit squishy at certain on death effects. The minion AI is frustrating a little bit through doorways, which they will fix. But for now, it's like until they fix the minion AI, it's not me. Like I just want to run around and be free.
Yeah, the minion build's definitely not a group play build because oh my god, I don't know what's going on the screen.
It's just
Is
fire
that
everywhere. It's not.
because there's
Yeah,
fire everywhere. I had to make my mouse icon like this giant thing so I could see where
yeah.
the hell my mouse was and where my character was because it just gets absolutely retarded.
It's quite bad.
Um, yeah, it's absolute like
Flame War
it's
is
just
just
like
cancer.
it's
It's
yeah,
so
it's just
bad.
everything's
20
on
minions
Oh,
running
fire.
around throwing bombs. Like it's
oh, the bomb throwers! I
triple
forgot about
project,
those.
triple
It's got those rings
projectiles
of
with
fire
100% AOE.
and then like a
Yeah,
Yeah,
gazillion grenades or bombs, whatever it is. It's really powerful, but oh my god, to play in a group it is painful. All
yeah.
right, and chaos. You had a good start, and then you had like some dry spaces. Then at one stage you just
Oh
couldn't kill
yeah,
anything, and then you
yeah.
learned some lessons. And
I had some ups and downs. That's for sure. My first issue was just a bad weapon that needed to be upgraded, and that sort of resolved most of the issues for quite a long time. And then I hit a bit of a wall where I wasn't happy with the way, um, what do you call it? I suppose
are we all
the
good?
game felt.
yeah, you were trying to do
Oh,
something with
looks like
armor
you've dropped.
breaking and stun in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was doing the armor break sunder. Um, yeah, so got the new weapon, got my ascendancy. The ascendancy broke the way I was clearing. I was using bone shatter to clear. The ascendancy that I chose as I went through it broke the interaction with bone shatter because like a little gold orb would appear above their head. I'd hit them with a
Yeah,
bone
yeah,
shatter and it would do quite a big AOE and just kill everything. That was
yeah.
fantastic. But the way I ascended through all my hits can heavy stun, which means that icon never appeared anymore. Like it was just gone.
You broke
Um,
you bricked your own build.
so I completely broke it, and I was Miz. I was so Miz
That was a
for
bad day for you. Yeah,
I
oh,
remember.
dude. But it was a really good learning experience because I found heaps of different interactions with skills.
Yeah,
I just played around with stuff, and then I think at that point I I stuck with Sunder actually, and went with all the aftershock and big AOE, and I attached it with the fishes. And instead of worrying about armor breaking and all that, I was just right clicking, and it was just like big quarters of the screen were just disappearing.
yeah.
So I was like, this is great. And then
your movement speeds up there too. I reckon. You fly through a bit.
That's
yeah,
because I gave him
Just
30% movement speed
30.
boost.
oh, that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah, he's
yeah,
like
yeah,
shoulder. He's just like shoulder charging mobs, and like two of them are rares. He leaves at 70% health and goes, "You handle that.
yeah.
I'm fucking not gonna go."
And then just before we got into maps, I changed my gameplay up again, um, and I wanted to go for a bit of a bleed setup with earthquake and it's like a charge up ability that slams. So I just
I was
wanted
at
to do heaps
rolling
of
slam or
aftershock type.
something.
Yeah. Oh no, it was
Not rolling.
supercharge slam.
Yeah, so he holds it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I wanted to
yeah.
put earthquake down while they're on the earthquake. They take 10% more damage, and then um, bleeds that I apply on that magnitude. So I'd essentially put it down, then do this big charge up, and then hit, but it was so slow, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's got to be a better
Man.
way. And then we started doing maps, and like it was fine, but um, I wanted to play around with leap slam and armor breaking, and it just wasn't working. And I'm like, why is this not working? But then if you read the tags, uh, at one point it's like because leap slam consumes armor break, you can't make it armor break
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah.
then I was like, well, what else can I do? Another movement skill? And there was stampede. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what we do here. And I sort of got it to work okay. So I'd jump in, everything would be armor break, and then I'd do my the wave, and it kind of worked all right. It was going fine. And then there was a skill I used really early on when you armor break, they get an explosion of fire damage. So I did play around with that as well, and that actually worked out really, really well. That's when I started doing the shoulder charge explosions, which was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was only a couple days ago now, but that's nerf. All that's nerfed now, so I'm
Or
just finding other ways to sort of play.
I
So yeah.
remember you ran into a wall, like then you're like, I just can't kill anything. And run
Oh
around,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you do
and
your charge
that's
up, and I dash in, and everything just explodes, and you're like
yeah. So
all dressed up
just
and nowhere to
before
go.
that's that's right. So just before that armor explosion stuff, because that was my transition from doing bleed to fire damage. I still had a lot of skills in
Passives.
passives in like bleed chance and bleed magnitude and all that sort of stuff. But because I was Avatar of Fire, and rage, I had so much rage, which is okay, but I was using the Berserk's skill. Then I wasn't leeching. There's so many things that just weren't
Broken
okay.
synergies.
In game rage, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then I basically went right back. Okay, fire damage skills. Let's give these a
You
crack.
respect like 3
Um,
times in one day. I think you
so
spent so much gold.
so a lot of gold. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
good though
yeah.
because you're really like speed running the interactions and multiple skill
Yeah,
gems, so your game knowledge just went
and
up.
I did find quite a few good interactions with, which was really cool. The one the one issue that I have with the warrior is around attack speed and the time of attacks for just about all of their abilities has like a plus 1.5. So just about every ability you slot it in, and by default it's like 2.5 seconds to cast it, and then you can pull it down to about 1.5, 1.4 seconds with a whole bunch of attack speed. It just feels bad, man. Like yeah, they hit
Yeah.
really hard, but you're like, like rolling slam in one spot, you kill like 5 mobs. You spent like 2 or 3 seconds there doing one
Yeah.
attack. Whereas like your guy, you've leapt in, hit twice, and then you're off. The next one where I'm like, hang on, mate, still rolling. My second roll's almost done. Let hold me back. Like it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm trying a bit of a range build now but even still, the attack speed stuff, it's
Yeah. I can
awful,
see.
and I
Yeah.
don't know what they're going to
You
do
sound
about
like
it.
you're ready for a reroll, bro.
Yeah, I look.
Poison, yo.
Yeah, yeah. I like what they're doing, but for mapping, I just don't know if it's for me, But bossing feels great with it because you just drop the
Yeah.
hammer of the gods and you just watch the ignite, just like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. No,
that's
it's
quite good.
yeah. The bleed and the ignite stuff is done really well on bosses.
Yeah, yeah.
Melee
Yeah.
at a disadvantage though, from what we've seen, man.
Oh yeah, like getting the third
It's a
ascendancy, that was really, really bad. But they've sort of things like that though. This is what we were talking about before with people have enough voice to GGG that they're like, okay, look, we hear you, we'll do something about it. Next day, we're doing a 35%
Yeah.
on a resistance, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, that's so like
Yeah.
perfect.
marketing
Thank
team
you.
dives it and goes, oh well, this is wrong. Oh, that's not working as intended.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love their
Oh,
approach, and also they're very thoughtful. It's not a knee jerk like, oh, let's just do this to pacify the players because it's a new game. They want it to succeed, but they are being very cautious with any big changes. Like I said,
Mm.
it's easy to it's really difficult to roll something back once it's put in place. So you have to be very like incremental about it. So yeah,
They've got a lot of practice at this too, with 10 years of PoE one, with player feedback, uproars, nerfs, buffs, all the rest of it. They're getting good at this, you know.
Yeah.
And they don't just fold like other games do, you know. They don't just go, oh, okay, I have free respecs. Oh, I have, okay, we won't nerf
Yeah.
it, you know. Like, you know, I'll just break the game. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
really is. Like Quinn says it all the time. You think you want it, but you don't.
yeah,
And it really is the enjoyment that we get from beating each wall. Like Bane's on fire right now, ripping through maps. He's going to hit the true end game soon and go, oh, you know, crap. This is the next wall, you know. And
yeah,
we're just going through that process again and again is what makes it really like
yeah.
just refreshing and
Yeah.
engaging. And I don't know. What
Yeah,
do
it's
you guys
great.
think? I think it's the
I,
best game I've played in a while,
oh yeah,
easily.
Oh, hands
yeah, for
down.
sure. I think the other thing that is growing on me, and I think you also mentioned this, Crush, is certain things I really didn't like the you die on a map and that's it for you. You know, you just sit there until the map's done or whatever.
Yeah.
That stuff's a bit like, ugh. There
Pains
are a
is
few
hard, yeah.
things I actually don't really mind anymore. Like dying in a map, you're like, okay, sure, whatever.
You just slam another one
Like
in or pick another
that's
node, whatever.
exactly right.
The
But
tree's infinite.
one of the issues I still haven't gotten over with that though is if one of us dies in a map and they're the leader and you've just done all the altars or
Yeah.
what was the other thing? I can't remember what the other one was.
The
Altars was the big
breach,
one.
the delirium, the delirium one.
The delirium. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's the delirium. So you can't fast forward the delirium to get the rewards,
Yeah.
and you can't pull rewards out of the altar if you're not the leader and
Yeah.
you're still alive. That I
We
don't
should-
like.
We should try right click award party leader, see if that gets around it. But yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
either way,
I
I'm sure
don't
they'll
think
fix
you can do any party management when you're dead. You can't even open your inventory.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I don't
So
think
yeah,
you can. Yeah.
a few little things like that I think will get resolved because it works in PoE 1.
For
So
sure.
they'll probably just have to do something to fix it in PoE 2, I'd reckon.
Yeah.
But the difficulty, the dying and losing your maps, all that sort of stuff, all that sort of, I guess you would call almost the hardcore elements, I don't mind them, I suppose.
How nice is it though? It's frustrating, but now I'm appreciating it, right? The deaths in the maps,
feel
because
you've
you don't
achieved
want to die in
something.
a map. It's not just the
Yeah,
PoE one stuff
Yeah.
different
where it's like
focus.
cast
Yeah.
on death portal. Like
Yeah.
you just get back in there. Who cares? You just no, you
Well,
won't
that's what
complete this map now. And if it was juicy, you've lost. So we have well, it's it's engaging, and we feel like we could lose something, and that is a taste of what it's like to play on hardcore.
Yeah.
Great.
I think that's a really good point because in PoE 1, eventually just got about zooming. How quickly can you get from point A to point B through maps
Yeah.
from tier 1 to tier 16 and endgame?
Yeah.
And you didn't really care about your loss. The only thing you lost was your XP, but you get to a certain level, you stop caring about losing XP. When you where I am now, like 80, 85 and up, like, okay, if I die, like I've got most of the points I need in my build. But the way the maps plays now, I still don't know if I like the fact that it's one and done. Why give us 6 portals then? Why not just give us one portal that's there until you die? But there are a few things that they need to fix, other than the DCing and things like that. I do like the difficulty. I don't mind the one and done, but then they need to fix the reward stuff. I do think I've seen a few issues with not being able to pick up rewards. Like the fact that essentially the way it's set up now, it forces you to pick up stuff while you play. So if you're in when you do a delirium mirror or you trigger a breach and it's absolute chaos for that 1 minute or whatever it is that you have all that stuff, you have to run around and pick up while you're fighting, which distracts you from the fighting and you make mistakes. Like chaos in our segment challenge, like, oh, look at the loot. Dead.
Oh yeah.
And that was the end of it because
on death effects.
on death
Oh,
effects
yeah.
got him.
Oh, click the eggs up, bang, suck it.
So I do think they need to have a think about the rewards and then the party based stuff as well. Like if I'm the leader and I shouldn't have to leave for you to get the rewards, I have to stay. So if I'm doing something for map completion, I have to stay. If chaos finishes, I get the map completion. But he can't get any of the rewards. So I think there's a bit of a trade-off there that they need to maybe consider. The difficulty, I don't have a problem with. I do think that early game mapping, there needs to be a way of getting more maps, like make the Doriani sell as you unlock more tiers, sell 1 or 2 tiers behind white maps that you can at least buy and stack up or whatever. Because it kind of forces you to go down a certain tree in the Atlas tree to
actually
sustain maps.
they may need to buff the Waystones maps, actually, because if you don't know what you're doing, I have heard through watching other streamers, there's people that don't know how to juice maps, that don't know how important quant is, and they are not sustaining at all.
Yeah,
they're literally, they get a 5 and they're like, oh, and they rip it and they go, damn it, I hate this game, or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's like,
but
bro,
also
if you just know that you've got to target bosses, and you just know that you should definitely go for the quant wheels first, it's going to be 3 times easier to sustain. Literally,
100%. So I mean, the whole focus of this game is about user friendly for people new in the game. I think there's a gap there, because if you don't know those mechanics in the game, if you don't have someone like a Crush that explains to you, okay, this is how you should be doing it, this is how that works, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. People are going to get frustrated and stuck. I was watching the comments today, and people asking some of the most simplest questions in global, trying to figure out about gems and this and Atlas tree, and some people would help, and then you got the trolls who like give them some snarky snide comment. That's normal, but some guides around that, they've done a really good job with putting videos on skills and stuff like that. Maybe they need to add some content around how some of those mechanics work, but I think they need to make it available. Like, you could buy maps in PoE 1 from the map vendor, and you, with the high level maps, you couldn't just buy infinite.
Tiers.
But through the tiers, you could buy maps, even if you just need one. And then the other problem I think they need to fix is, if I'm running a tier 11 map or tier 13 map, I shouldn't be getting tier 4 maps or tier 1 maps. I should be getting maybe tier 9 and up, maybe 8 and up.
Always stay like 2 behind or something.
Yeah, two maximum, because you can get enough of those and you can scale them up. But dropping a tier 1 map, exactly. So dropping a tier 1 or a 3 or 4 map that serves no purpose to me, what am I going to do with that? It's absolutely useless. Yeah, but you need maps to sustain. I've literally gone where I've then taken 3s and 4s and stacked them up and get them to 5s, and then get some 5s, stack them up. I had to do that in the beginning so I could finish the tier 8s and 9s and stuff like that. Now that I'm on the tier 11, 12, and 13 maps, I'm sustaining well, but because I've got the quant and I've had enough Atlas points to actually get the sustain up. But in the beginning, you don't have those points. You only have 2 or 4 points for the first tier 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 maps. After that, it's like, if you don't have points in the right place. So I do think they should have
the first 4
a look
points
at that.
only give you 6% quant, I think, as well.
Yeah,
so even that, it's the, once you're at 6 points, it starts. But again, only if you put them in
the right place. Yeah.
If you haven't, you're totally effed.
Yeah, I tried going up the first time, like 10% to be 1 level higher, 10% to be 1 level, and I almost never got 1 level higher. I always got the same or lower. So
again, and that does seem like a smart decision because it's +1. But but again, unless you've got prior knowledge, you don't realize that, hang on, a third of these maps have +1 to the mob level, and bosses inherently can drop a higher tier. They've always had that in PoE 1, and they've kept it that way in PoE 2. So,
I think
some sort of assistance there. I'm sure they'll address it. But
no, I mean, it's early access, guys. Let's remember, it is early access, so they are figuring out a lot of stuff. I am looking forward to the other classes. I would really love to see an assassin class.
Give me Templar. Give me Templar. Give me. You want an assassin? It's one of the first coming out.
Assassin and Templar. I think that's where Thorns is going to kick in.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Thorns is going to be around Templar. Yeah, I'm quite excited.
My favorite item in the game needs spell totems.
Hierophant, yeah.
8 totems, 1,300% spell damage. It's gonna be good.
Alrighty. So anyway,
yeah,
it's keeping us busy. I'm having an absolute hoot and a half playing it and trying to figure out stuff. I'm new at the game, again, new quote unquote with 1,000 hours, but I'm playing with builds, and then I'm watching someone else that knows how to play the game do build guards, and they're doing what I'm doing. For me, that's really good. It means I'm understanding the mechanics, and I'm coming to grips with how the stuff work. I mean, I was pretty decent at PoE1. I didn't invest as much variety in it as you guys did. I got to grips with the mechanics pretty well, but having the historical knowledge of the skills and the gems and the affinities and things like that is where I really struggled, because there was just way too much historical stuff. So I'm really
It was
enjoying
huge.
PoE2.
I've got 7,000 hours in it, honestly, and
Yeah,
I would consider myself not an expert for sure, because the game changed faster than you could, unless you were a full-time streamer,
yeah.
you could not have a total comprehensive knowledge of it because it was changing, like I said, that fast.
Yeah.
Speaking of change, so Path of Building Community, I think they're doing an update or working on an update. But in the meantime, Maxwell has an alpha version of the PoE builder. Crush, you've had a look at it. You said it's pretty decent.
It's
I know
insane. Yeah, you can put your gems in, your passives.
I think
like
it's really
literally
cool.
everything.
Oh wow.
It's well
Yeah.
designed. Zizaran's presence is definitely
Yeah, I heard
part of
he's
that, I
the
reckon.
branch manager for Maxwell for PoE2. So
He's really
he's
taking
running
it to
that,
the next level.
which is really awesome. I like the way they've got all the build guides laid out, and they're encouraging people to write it up. So I think I'm hoping PoE, the Path of Building community still does its thing. But Maxwell is it's a really good start, and there's something in there. So I'm hoping that they keep building on that. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So games that are coming out soon that we are excited about. I saw one the other night. I was just watching some crap on my phone on YouTube when I lay in bed. I wasn't laying in bed. I don't know. I wasn't at my table, and I saw the new Elden Ring Night Rain, and I was like, oh my god! And I was trying to post on Discord, and I don't have Discord on my phone anymore. And I was like, are you guys going to see this? Because we're also excited about Monster Hunter coming out next year. And
Yeah.
then
Oh, that's gonna be sick.
and then you cross that with Elden Ring, another one of our favorite games where you now have proper group play. Because I mean, it was always a slog trying to do group play in Elden Ring and in Dark Souls. Like, it was really, really limited, your group
The
play.
Summon Sign playthrough was, yeah. I mean, it was
Oh,
really enjoyable. We wanted
it
to
was
do it, but it was just clunky.
it was really clunky. And then I watched this video of Elden Ring Night, and I was like, oh my god, I need some of that. Because I mean, I've got Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. I haven't even finished it. I don't have the time to play it, but I absolutely loved Elden Ring. Elden Ring was the first game that I ever played where I felt I had to get 100% achievement, because the game was just that phenomenal. The open world was mind blowing. The game was so difficult and challenging, but it was about mass. I mean, I remember in the beginning when I was playing Dark Souls with you, Crush, and you'd come in and you just like, you kill a boss, and I'm trying to do, and he was whooping my ass. That first, what was it, Dark Souls 3, I think, that first boss, I just couldn't kill it. Like, I'm used to just going bashing something until it's dead. And the Dark Souls, like with PoE2, you've got to step back and slow down and look and time. So the idea of mixing something that's really polished, like Monster Hunter World type gameplay, with Elden Ring is really, really exciting. Do you guys have any games that you're excited about that's coming out? Well, not necessarily coming out, or games that you're following. I know
mean,
I have.
February 28th, Monster Hunter Wilds. So
Yeah,
just
that's
both
going to be
games.
sick.
Monster Hunter is amazing.
Yeah,
Just team co-op. Everyone worked together to
yeah,
bash
we're
a
big co-op fans.
hideous
Yeah,
monster's head in. Oh, it's so good.
we are absolute co-op fanatics and addicts. Definitely our gameplay. Chaos. What about you?
No, just Monster Hunter Wilds. Really, that's the only. So before PoE2 got pulled back for early access and that sort of stuff, that was the game I was very interested in coming out, but not really. Like, I am looking for or interested in the new classes coming out for PoE2.
Yeah.
Which will tide us over until Monster Hunter comes out. But I think we just spend a lot of time in PoE2, to be honest.
Yeah, PoE2 is definitely going to keep us busy.
Yeah.
I
There's
know
going to
in
be
PoE
another The
1.
Last of Us in
Oh,
April.
really? Oh my god. Okay. Well, I know in PoE 1, I would play one class through to as far as I could go in the game, and I was like, okay, that's it, I'm out. I didn't have the passion for the game that you guys had just because I missed all that initial stuff, starting a new character. Ashes of Creation is looking really interesting. I hope it still comes to fruition one day. They're doing a lot of good work in it. I think they've started working on like raids and dungeons and stuff now. So it looks really, really good. Hoping to see what happens there. Astro Medica has released early access, really good reviews, although they say there's not a lot of gameplay. It's essentially Subnautica in space. I was a massive fan of Subnautica. So I will keep an eye on that one. That one definitely looks like I absolutely enjoyed the first 1 and 2 Subnauticas. It's peaceful and it's fun. I love building stuff. Enshrouded is
GTA
the
6.
yeah. I was never a fan of GTA. Then we've got Enshrouded is
Borderlands.
doing really good. Oh, there's a new Borderlands coming out,
There's a
isn't there?
Borderlands 4. I was hoping. I was like, we're due. Where the hell is my next Borderlands? Because like,
Yeah, we
I
played
mean,
the
what
other
we've gone through
Borderlands
2 and 3 a couple times.
yeah, we smashed through all the Borderlands at one stage. We went through that. That was fun. Enshrouded is doing really good work. I want to watch them develop that some more. Chaos and I
That game's insane.
had absolutely
it's
loads of fun with that game. It really does encourage group play. That it's somehow it's a sandbox survival game that actually adds on RPG elements as you progress through the game. Like everything you pick up has a new quest, new lore item, and I think they need to build out the skill tree a little bit more to have more variety and overlap. But I mean, Chaos and I were playing, and you were doing a ranger that was absolutely wrecking in the end, and I had a tank that just didn't die. And we had a hoot and a half in that game. Then there's another game I'm playing that is called what is it called now? Now I can't remember what it is called. And as soon as I
Once
can
Human?
find, no. Once Human was that was absolutely I love that game. Chaos and I had loads of fun. That game has a lot of promise. It is a game that you kind of jump into, and we played through the first 2 seasons of it, 3 seasons I think it was. The launch and the first one, then the second, and each season ramps up on the previous one. So you can go back to the vanilla and play the normal easy mode, but then there's like the hard mode that comes out. We had the Way of Winter, which was the last one. It was absolutely fantastic. I remember our first 1 and 2 playthroughs was really difficult because we didn't have the recipes. We were still figuring out, but by the time Way of Winter came out, we knew exactly what we needed to do. And I remember when that last phase opened up and the new boss came out, within the first hour of it launching, Chaos Knight smashed it, and we were running through other people. It was loads of fun. Then there is Stalker 2. I need to still play that game. I've got it. Then there is Forever Skies is the other game. It's a really, really cool game. It's a open world survival, but based in an a blimp. Not a blimp. What's a yeah? So there's the airships with the big bag. Yeah. But your
blimp,
base is actually the blimp. So you expand the blimp out and turn it into a flying base. And the majority of the gameplay is flying around and landing on towers, discovering things and unlocking recipes and then crafting it. And then there's places where you go
Nice
down.
twist on it.
Yeah, that's like we were
It's
talking
a
about
bit
the indie
like
games. It's a new
Rafted,
twist.
but in the sky.
Yeah, and then there's times where you have to go down below the level of like it's a post-apocalyptic world where whatever's happened and there's like this layer of toxic air that you can't go into. But then there's some towers that you land on that has a lift that goes down and you go into underground tunnels and things, and you have to have a gas mask on, and there's like a lot of mechanics that adds just the right amount of pressure because you've got air and you've got only so much energy before you get to the next recharge station. And you've got to slowly open up, work out a maze and find the checkpoints so you can go between them and fill up your oxygen, which is really, really cool. And they've now added more combat in the game, which is really nice. So I really enjoyed that game. I still play it every now and then to see what's going on. So we'll see. Stalker 2 is definitely going to be my next playthrough on Twitch when we finally run out of Steam for PoE 2. Right. Was there anything else that you guys had on the radar as far as games or expectations or hopes and dreams? And
No, not really.
No, I think we've covered it, man. Like, there's just, I mean, like we've been talking about, I think PoE 2 is just going to be our focus for the next couple of weeks. And then I think once the honeymoon period of this amazing release comes to its end, we could start to look at, you know, the upcoming releases. Maybe we should work on a bit of a calendar and figure out who's going to get what and
Yeah.
so,
start the reviewing process.
Start looking at some co-op games too. Yeah.
yeah, I would love for us to do some co-op game playthroughs or streams because the three of us are a hoot and a half when it comes to co-op games because we all have such different game styles. I do
Well,
want to.
What's first out of the? I mean, the Monster Hunter and the Dark Souls Monster Hunter. I'm guessing Monster Hunter will be first, right? Because the Dark Souls
I'd
one was
imagine
only
so.
just.
It's just a teaser. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be maybe 2 years away. Who knows?
Yeah. I was thinking more like the co-op games, like turn-based games or like the Valhalla type games where it's not so Monster Hunter World co-op game, great, yeah, that's different, but it doesn't allow for role playing as much. I just know when the three of us get together and we play games that are role playing type approach, it's an absolute blast because Baldur's Gate comes to mind and sort of
We could
satisfactory.
consider a Baldur's Gate. We could consider a playthrough of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we did one archetype each, right?
Yeah.
And there's how many in there? Holy.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot of content that's added to it. But like, I'd love to try something new. So what Crash mentioned earlier was like, what's next for GGG? What are we going to do? So we want to start looking at game reviews. We're going to start putting together some content around game guides and things like that. Maybe Crush, you do like a little PoE university on the basics of how the PoE mechanics work. So you were just talking about like the Atlas tree, explaining how that kind of stuff works. We could make some short videos on understanding that. That might be good. So a couple of ideas in the works.
Yeah, I think that's a great place for me to start before we start getting into some of the proper games where I'm doing a full playthrough and a proper review. I think dabble in a bit of PoE content would be a good idea. Get some
I might even learn
right
something
before I stuff up, 2 days worth of footage or something.
So anyway, there's a lot on the agenda. So for anyone who watches, just bear with us. We are trying to, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are still trying to figure out some of the logistics of this. We do all three have day jobs, so things don't always align perfectly, but we will always endeavor to get something out on a regular basis. Otherwise, please come check us out on Twitch. The starting stream page and with the I'll put it on the end as well. Come and check us out on Twitch. Check our website out, galacticgaminggods.com. You will find our Twitch handles in there and some information on what we're all about. So please do go check that out. Otherwise, that is it from me. I think it is time for us to call this Boxed In podcast, the inaugural Boxed In named podcast, comes to an end. So, game on.
Thank you very much.
Or die trying, boys. And I will see you on the flip side. Have a good evening, chaps. Bye, all.
See ya.